Ellie pressed her dead father's rifle against her shoulder and aimed at the door. 3 knocks. Then silence. Then a child's weak voice. "Please. My boy is dying." She lowered the gun, opened the door, and there stood a man she would come to love, and a secret that would destroy everything she believed about trust. This is a story about second chances, about a widow who had nothing, and a millionaire who pretended to be no one. Subscribe now and stay until the end. Comment your city below. I want to see how far this story travels. The knock came at midnight. Ellie Brennan sat alone by her dying fire mending a sock that had more patches than original thread. The cabin creaked around her, settling into the cold, like old bones finding rest. 3 years since Pa died. 3 winters survived alone on this ridge. She'd stopped counting the days long ago. The second knock was harder, desperate. She reached for her father's Springfield rifle above the mantel. Her hands knew its weight like scripture. Ellie rose slowly, bare feet silent on the rough-hewn floor. "Who's there?" "Ma'am." A man's voice rough with cold. "Please, my boy." She pressed her eye to the gap between the door planks. Wind howled through, burning her skin. Through the narrow slit she saw him, tall, broad-shouldered, hat pulled low, and in his arms, a child. Small, still, too still. "He ain't breathing right," the man said. "Been riding 3 days. Got caught in the storm." Ellie's finger rested on the trigger. The last strangers who'd come to her door had been land agents. They'd laughed at her patched dress, called her father a fool for dying on worthless rock. Then they'd offered her $12 for everything. She'd pointed this same rifle at them until they rode away. But this child, this small, limp child with blue lips and frost on his eyelashes. Her mother's voice whispered from memory. "Hospitality ain't a choice in a storm. It's a commandment." Ellie set down the rifle. Her hands shook as she lifted the heavy timber bar. The door swung inward, and the storm exploded into her home. The man stepped through like he was crossing into sanctuary. Snow clung to his shoulders, his beard the brim of his hat. But his eyes, dark brown, almost black in the firelight, held something she recognized. Fear. The bone-deep terror of a parent watching their child fade. "By the fire," she said. "Now." He moved fast for a man half frozen, knelt before her small hearth, the boy still clutched against his chest. Ellie grabbed her mother's quilt, the only fine thing she owned, and wrapped it around the child. "How long?" she demanded. "Since yesterday morning. Storm caught us on the pass." "You rode through a blizzard with a boy?" "Didn't have a choice." His jaw tightened. "We were being followed." Ellie's hands paused on the child's forehead, cold as river stone. "By who?" "Doesn't matter now." He looked at her, then really looked, took in her worn dress, her calloused hands, her cabin with its gaps in the chinking and its smell of poverty. "Ma'am, I know how this looks. Strangers at your door in the dead of night. But I swear on my wife's grave, we mean you no harm." "Your wife." "Passed. 2 years ago." Something shifted in Ellie's chest. She knew that particular silence, the one that came after the dying and before the learning to live again. "What's his name?" she asked, nodding at the boy. "Benjamin. Ben." "And yours?" A pause, just a heartbeat too long. "Sam?" "Just Sam. Just Sam." He held her gaze, didn't blink. "For now." Ellie decided not to push. A man running from something had a right to his secrets, at least until morning. "I'll heat water," she said. "Get those wet clothes off him before he catches pneumonia." She moved to her small stove hands, working from memory. Stoked the coals, filled the kettle from her water barrel. Behind her she heard the rustle of fabric as Sam stripped the frozen clothes from his son. "He's got a fever," Sam said, voice tight. "Fever's better than frostbite. Means his body's fighting. You know about doctoring. Enough." Ellie pulled down a jar from her shelf willow bark, tea-dried yarrow honey from last summer. My pa taught me, said a woman alone better know how to heal herself. Your father sounds like a wise man. He was. She poured hot water over the herbs. He's dead now. I'm sorry. Don't be. Dying's what people do. She brought the tea to Sam, pressed it into his hands. Make him drink. Small sips. Keep him warm. Sam cradled the cup like it was gold. He lifted his son's head, gently tipped the liquid between the boy's blue lips. Ben coughed, sputtered, but swallowed. That's it, Sam murmured. That's my strong boy. Ellie watched from across the room. The way this man touched his son, tender, careful, like the boy was made of morning light, it made her throat tight. When did you last eat? She asked. Day before yesterday. Lord Almighty. She was already moving, grabbing what little she had. A heel of bread, the last of her bacon, dried beans she'd been rationing for weeks. You'll kill yourself starving like that. Couldn't stop. Had to keep moving. Moving from what? Sam's hands stilled on his son's hair. My family. Ellie froze ladle halfway to the pot. You're running from your own kin. What's left of them? His voice went hard as winter iron. My father's a powerful man. Thinks he can own anything. Anyone. He wanted to take Ben from me after my wife died. Said I wasn't fit. Said the boy needed proper raising. Sam's jaw worked. By proper he meant rich, cold, cruel. Everything I'm trying to protect Ben from. So you ran. 2,000 miles. He looked at her. You're the first person who's let us in since Colorado. Ellie didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing, just ladled beans into a bowl and set it before him. Sam ate like he'd forgotten how. She had to stop him, warn him he'd make himself sick going too fast. He laughed at that, a short, surprised sound, and she realized it might have been the first time he'd laughed in months. You're kind, he said. Why, ain't kind, just doing what's right. Most people don't know the difference anymore. They sat in silence as the storm raged outside. Ben's breathing slowly steadied the fever tea doing its work. Color crept back into his cheeks. Ellie checked his forehead every few minutes, adjusting the quilt, adding another log to the fire. Around 3 in the morning, the boy's eyes fluttered open. Blue. Clear summer blue, even in the dim firelight. Pa! His voice was a thread of sound. Right here, son. Sam gathered him close. Right here. Where are we? Safe place. A kind lady took us in. Ben turned his head, found Ellie watching from her chair. He studied her with the frank curiosity of childhood. Are you an angel? Ellie huffed a laugh. Lord, no, just a woman with a fire and too much stubbornness to let strangers freeze. What's your name, yo, Ellie? That's pretty. Ben's eyes were already closing again. Thank you, Miss Ellie. You're warm. He was asleep before she could respond. Ellie looked at Sam, found him watching her with an expression she couldn't read. He likes you, Sam said. He's delirious. No, he knows good people. Better than I do sometimes. Sam paused. Ma'am Ellie, I don't know how to repay this. Don't need repaying. Everyone needs something. Ellie thought of her empty cupboards, the banknote due in spring, the fence that had collapsed under last year's snow, the barn door hanging by one hinge. Rest, she said finally. We'll figure out the rest in the morning. But morning brought its own troubles. Ellie woke to the sound of horses, multiple horses moving fast up her ridge trail. She was out of bed and reaching for the rifle before her eyes fully opened. Sam was already awake, standing at the window, body tense as a coiled spring. Stay with Ben, he said, not looking at her. This is my land, my cabin. Please. He turned then, and she saw something new in his face. Not fear. Resignation. Let me handle this. The hoofbeats stopped outside. A voice called out, young, arrogant, thick with Eastern accent and frontier contempt. "Hello in the cabin. We're looking for a man and a boy. Seen 'em." Sam closed his eyes, drew a breath. When he opened them, the softness she'd glimpsed last night was gone. In its place was something harder, older. "That's my cousin," he said quietly. "My father sent him. Your father sent men after you in a blizzard. My father would burn down a mountain to get what he wants." Sam reached for his coat. "I'll go. Lead them away. You and Ben. Sit down." "Ma'am?" "I said sit." Ellie cocked the rifle. "This is my property, my door, and I'll be damned if I let some Eastern fancy boy tell me who can shelter here." She crossed to the door before Sam could stop her, threw it open, stood in the doorway with her father's rifle raised. 3 men on horseback, fine coats, fine horses, soft hands. The one in front was young, maybe 25, with a thin mustache and eyes like a rat sizing up cheese. "Ma'am?" He tipped his hat, smile spreading. "Didn't mean to disturb. Just looking for my cousin. Big fellow, dark hair, traveling with a boy about 8. Ain't seen anyone." The young man's smile didn't waver. "Really? Because their horses are in your barn." Damn. Ellie hadn't thought about the horses. "Found them wandering in the storm," she said. "No riders." "Is that so?" The man dismounted, started toward the cabin. "Mind if we take a look inside just to be sure?" Ellie leveled the rifle at his chest. "I mind." He stopped. The other 2 reached for their guns. "Now, ma'am." The young man raised his hand, still smiling. "No need for unpleasantness. My uncle just wants his grandson back. The boy's father isn't, well." He tapped his temple. "Grief does terrible things to a man's mind. His mind seems fine to me." The smile froze. "So he is here. Get off my land." "Ma'am, you don't understand. We're the Mercer family. From Colorado. Perhaps you've heard of us." Mercer. The name hit Ellie like a slap. Everyone west of the Mississippi had heard of the Mercers. Silver mines, railroads, more money than God and fewer scruples than the devil. She didn't lower the rifle. "Don't care if you're the president himself. You're on my property. I'm telling you to leave. Next time I won't tell. I'll shoot." The young man's face darkened. "You're making a mistake. Wouldn't be my first." They stared at each other. The wind howled, snow swirled between them. Finally, the young man stepped back. "We'll be in town, at the hotel. When you come to your senses, and you will, you know where to find us." He mounted his horse, looked down at her with contempt that made her skin crawl. "Pretty thing like you all alone out here. Shame if something happened to this place. Fire, accident. Things happen in these mountains." He tipped his hat again. "Ma'am." They rode away. Ellie stood in the doorway until they disappeared over the ridge. Then she lowered the rifle and her hands started shaking. "You shouldn't have done that." She turned. Sam stood behind her, bent awake and clinging to his hand. "You heard him," Ellie said. "Threats. On my land. In my home. The Mercers don't make threats. They make promises." Sam's voice was hollow. "I should go. Take Ben. Lead them away from here before..." "Before what? They burn me out. Let them try." Ellie surprised herself with the fire in her voice. "Your boy's still sick. Storm's not done. You'll die out there. You don't know what my family is capable of." "I know what I'm capable of." She looked at Ben, saw the terror in those summer blue eyes. "And I ain't sending a sick child out into a blizzard because some rich man thinks he can own people." Sam stared at her. Something shifted in his face, wonder maybe. Or the first crack in walls built over years of running. "Why?" he asked. "Why risk everything for strangers?" Ellie thought of her father. Her mother she'd never known. 3 years of fighting alone, of proving to every man in the territory that a woman could hold her own land. "Because someone has to," she said simply. "Now help me bar the door. We've got a long night ahead." The storm returned with a vengeance that afternoon. Wind screamed down from the peaks, rattling the shutters, driving snow through every crack. Ellie and Sam worked together to seal what they could, stuffing rags into gaps, piling furniture against the weakest walls. Ben watched from his nest of blankets by the fire, still weak, but alert now. His fever had broken in the night, thanks to Ellie's herbs and steady care. "Miss Ellie?" he asked during a lull in the wind. "Yeah, honey?" "Why do you live alone?" Sam shot him a warning look, but Ellie just smiled. Children's questions were the honest ones. She'd missed honest questions. "My pa passed," she said, 3 years ago, and I reckon I never found a reason to leave." "Weren't you scared all by yourself?" "Every day." Ellie sat beside him, tucking the quilt tighter around his thin shoulders. "But scared don't mean quit. Scared means careful." Ben considered this with the gravity only children could muster. "Pa's scared too. He don't say it, but I know." "Ben." Sam's voice held warning. "It's okay." Ben looked at his father. "Miss Ellie's nice. She won't tell." "Tell what?" Ellie asked. Sam rubbed his face with his hands. When he looked up, his eyes were tired. Tired in a way that went deeper than lost sleep. "My name isn't Sam," he said. "It's Samuel. Samuel Mercer. The man who came this morning, that's my cousin Frederick. My father sent him to bring Ben back to Colorado. I figured as much." "You did. Your boy's got soft hands, clean nails, talks like a schoolteacher's dream. You carry yourself like someone used to being obeyed." Ellie shrugged. "Ain't rocket science." Sam almost smiled. "And you still helped us. Like I said, a sick child's a sick child. Don't matter who his grandpa is." "It matters to my father." Sam's voice hardened. "He's got this vision. The Mercer legacy. Empire built on silver and railroads and broken backs. He wanted my son raised in that. Taught to see people as tools. To take what he wants and damn the consequences. And you don't want that for Ben." "I'd die first." The words came out fierce, raw. "My wife, Margaret, she was a miner's daughter. Met her when I was 23, working in one of my father's mines. First honest job I ever had. She saw through everything. The money, the name, all of it. She just saw me." "She sounds special." She was. Sam's eyes went distant. "When she died, something in me broke. And when my father showed up at her funeral talking about finally raising the boy properly, I knew I had to run." "So you've been running for 2 years. 2 years, 3 months, and 9 days. Sam looked at his son asleep again by the fire. "We've been happy. Poor but happy. Ben's learned to fish, ride, mend, fence. Things that matter. Things my father never taught me." Ellie understood then in a way that made her chest ache. This wasn't just a man running from wealth. This was a father fighting for his son's soul. "The cousin," she said. "Frederick. He won't give up." "No. Father's offering a reward. $5,000 for information leading to our safe return." Sam laughed bitterly. "Everyone we've met eventually turns. The money's too good." "Not everyone." Sam looked at her. Really looked. "No, not everyone." They sat in silence as the storm howled. The fire crackled. Ben murmured in his sleep. "Tomorrow," Ellie said finally. "Storm should break. You could make for the northern pass. Gets you to Montana territory. Harder to track. You know these mountains. Born on them. Buried my father on that ridge." She pointed out the frosted window. "I know every trail, every hollow, every place to hide." "Would you?" Sam hesitated. "Would you show us?" Ellie should say no. Should protect herself, her land, her careful solitude. Getting tangled with Mercers meant trouble. The kind that didn't end. But she looked at Ben, small and trusting in her mother's quilt. Looked at Sam, proud and broken and fighting so hard to be good. "Yeah," she said. "I'll show you." Sam's hand found hers. His grip was warm, calloused in ways that surprised her. the hands of a man who'd learned to work. "Thank you," he said. "Whatever happens, thank you." Ellie didn't pull away, just sat there feeling his warmth, listening to the storm rage outside. She'd been alone for 3 years, and suddenly, she wasn't sure she wanted to be alone anymore. The storm broke 3 days later. Ellie stood at her window watching the sky turn pale gold. Behind her, Ben sat at the table spooning the last of her oatmeal into his mouth. The boy had recovered faster than she'd expected. Children were resilient that way. Sam came in from the barn stomping snow from his boots. "Horses are fed. Trail looks passable. Give it another hour. Let the sun soften the ice." He nodded, but didn't move toward the door, just stood there watching her. "What?" Ellie asked. "Nothing." He paused. "You ever been to Montana?" "Once. With my pa. Years ago." "What's it like?" "Big. Empty. Good place to disappear." Sam crossed to the window, stood beside her, close enough that she could feel his warmth. "Come with us." Ellie's heart stuttered. "What? Come with us? To Montana?" He turned to face her. "You know these mountains. You know how to survive. And Ben..." He glanced at his son. "Ben needs someone like you. Someone like me. Someone kind. Someone strong." Sam's voice dropped. "Someone who sees people for who they are, not what they're worth." Ellie's throat tightened. She'd dreamed of leaving this ridge, dreamed of starting over somewhere new, somewhere her father's ghost didn't haunt every corner. But dreams were dangerous things. "I can't," she said. "This land. My pa's buried here. Everything I have is a cabin falling apart and a bank note you can't pay." Sam's words were gentle but honest. "I heard you talking to yourself last night. The payment's due in spring. You don't have the money." "I'll figure something out." "You'll lose everything." "Then I'll lose it." Ellie's chin lifted. "But I won't run. I'm not..." She stopped herself, but Sam heard what she didn't say. "You're not like me," he finished. "A coward who runs from his problems." "I didn't mean..." "Yes, you did." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "And you're right. I've been running for 2 years, telling myself it was for Ben, but maybe I was just scared to stand and fight." "Pa." They both turned. Ben stood behind them, his father's coat draped over his thin shoulders like a blanket. "Are we leaving?" Sam looked at Ellie. She saw the question in his eyes. "Yeah, son, we're leaving." Ben's face crumbled. "But I don't want to go. I like it here. Miss Ellie's nice. She makes good oatmeal, and she doesn't yell, and she smells like flowers, even though there ain't no flowers in winter." Ellie laughed despite herself. "Lavender. It's dried lavender. I keep it in my clothes chest." "See?" Ben grabbed his father's hand. "She's special, Pa. Mama would have liked her. I know she would have." Sam's face went pale. "Ben? It's true. Mama always said to look for people with kind eyes and gentle hands. Miss Ellie's got both." The silence stretched. Ellie didn't know where to look. "Your mama was right," Sam said finally, voice rough. "She was always right. So can Miss Ellie come with us, please?" "That's not..." "I'll show you the North Pass." Both of them stared at her. Ellie took a breath. What was she doing? This was madness. Pure, reckless madness. "I'll guide you through the mountains, as far as the Montana border. After that, you're on your own." "Ellie, don't read into it." She grabbed her coat from the hook. "I just don't want your deaths on my conscience. You'd get lost in the first canyon." Sam's smile this time was real. "Thank you. Save it. We've got a hard ride ahead." They left within the hour. Ellie took one last look at her cabin, her father's cabin, and mounted her mare. Ben rode with Sam on the big gray. The morning sun was blinding on the fresh snow, But Ellie knew these trails by heart. "Stay close," she called back, "and stay quiet. Sound carries in these canyons." They rode in silence through the high country. The world was white and gold and crystalline beautiful in the way that dangerous things often are. Ellie kept her eyes on the ridgeline, watching for movement. "How far to the border?" Sam asked. 3 days, maybe 4 if the weather holds. "And if it doesn't? Then we find shelter and wait it out." They stopped at midday by a frozen creek. Ellie broke through the ice to water the horses, while Sam built a small fire. Ben collected sticks, his cheeks pink with cold and excitement. "Miss Ellie." "Yeah, honey." "Do you have a mama?" "Did. She passed when I was born." "So you never knew her?" "Just from stories. My pa talked about her every day." Ellie smiled at the memory, said she had red hair like mine and a temper to match. "I remember my mama." Ben's voice went soft. "She used to sing to me, songs about rivers and mountains and angels. She sounds wonderful." She was. Ben looked at his father, who was watching them from across the fire. "Pa doesn't sing, but sometimes at night I hear him talking to her, like she's still there." Ellie's heart cracked a little. "Maybe she is, just not in a way we can see." "You think so?" "I know so." Ben smiled, the first real full smile she'd seen from him. "I'm glad we found you, Miss Ellie. You're like the answer to a prayer I didn't know I was praying." Ellie couldn't speak past the lump in her throat, so she just pulled the boy close and held him until Sam called them back to the horses. They rode hard through the afternoon. The trail grew narrower, steeper, winding through pine forests that muffled all sound. Ellie kept looking back, kept listening for hoofbeats that shouldn't be there. "You're worried," Sam said, pulling up beside her. "Always am in these mountains." "It's more than that." She hesitated. "Frederick, the way he talked, the things he threatened." "My cousin's all bluster. He knew about the banknote, about my payments being late." Ellie met his eyes. "How'd he know that, Sam? I haven't told anyone." Sam's face hardened. "My father has connections everywhere. Banks, land offices, probably half the lawmen in the territory." "So he's been watching you?" "Watching everyone I might run to." Sam's jaw clenched. "That's why I never stayed anywhere long. Anyone who helped us became a target." "Then why did you stay with me? Why not leave that first morning?" Sam was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Because you looked at me like I was just a man, not a mercer, not a fortune, just a man trying to protect his son." He paused. "I haven't felt that in 2 years. I wasn't ready to give it up." Ellie didn't know what to say. The silence between them was heavy with things unspoken. "There's a cabin ahead," she said finally. "Old Trapper's place. We can shelter there tonight." "Is it safe?" "Safe as anything in these mountains." They found the cabin just before sunset. It was small, barely more than 4 walls and a roof, but the chimney was intact and the door still had a latch. Ellie got a fire going while Sam tended the horses. Ben fell asleep almost immediately, exhausted from the long ride. Ellie covered him with her own coat and sat back watching the flames. "He's a good boy," she said when Sam came in. "He's everything." Sam settled across from her, the fire between them. "When Margaret died, I thought I'd die too. Just stop. But Ben needed me, so I kept going." "That's what parents do." "You sound like you know from experience." "I know from observation." Ellie poked at the fire. "My pa raised me alone after Mama passed. Never complained, never quit. Just kept putting one foot in front of the other until he couldn't anymore." "How did he die?" "Horse threw him, up on the North Ridge. He was out checking fence lines in a storm." Her voice caught. "I found him 2 days later, frozen, still holding the reins." "God, Ellie, I'm so sorry." "Don't be. He died doing what he loved, taking care of the land, taking care of me." She wiped her eyes roughly. I wish I could have told him how much he meant to me. All those years I thought I had time. Thought there'd always be tomorrow." Sam moved around the fire, sat beside her. His shoulder touched hers, warm and solid. "He knew," Sam said quietly. "A father knows." "How can you be sure?" "Because I know what I see in Ben's eyes. Love doesn't need words." Ellie turned to look at him. In the firelight, his face was soft open. The hardness he wore like armor had fallen away. "Why are you so kind to me?" she whispered. "Because you deserve it." He reached up, brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Because you're the first person in 2 years who's shown me that good still exists. I'm nobody, a poor woman on a failing ranch. You're everything." His voice was fierce. "Don't you see that? You opened your door to strangers in a blizzard. You faced down my family with nothing but a rifle and your stubbornness. You're braver than anyone I've ever known." "I'm not brave. I'm just too stupid to know when I'm beat." Sam laughed. A real laugh, warm and rich. "That's the same thing." She laughed too, and the sound surprised her. When was the last time she'd laughed? Really laughed. "Sam." "Shh." He pressed a finger to her lips. "Don't. Whatever you're about to say to push me away, don't. Just let this be what it is." "What is it?" "I don't know yet." He leaned closer. "But I want to find out." She should pull away. Should remind him of all the reasons this was impossible. The Mercers. The bank. The 1,000 miles of trouble between here and anywhere safe. Instead, she leaned in. The kiss was soft. Tentative. A question more than an answer. But when she didn't pull back, he deepened it, his hand cupping her face like she was something precious. They broke apart slowly. Ellie's heart was hammering. "We shouldn't," she whispered. "Probably not." "Your family. The danger?" "I know." "Then why?" "Because I'm tired of being afraid." Sam's eyes burned into hers. "I've been running so long I forgot what it felt like to want something for myself. You make me remember." Before Ellie could respond, a sound cut through the night. Hoofbeats, coming fast. Sam was on his feet in an instant, grabbing his rifle. Ellie scooped up Ben, who woke with a startled cry. "Out the back," she hissed. "There's a ravine. They won't be able to follow on horseback." "What about you?" "I'll hold them off. Buy you time." "No." Sam grabbed her arm. "We go together or not at all." "Sam, I'm not leaving you." His voice broke. "I can't lose anyone else." The hoofbeats were closer now. Voices shouting. Torchlight flickering through the trees. "Then we go together," Ellie said. "Now, move." They burst out the back door into the freezing night. The ravine was steep, treacherous in the dark, but Ellie knew every handhold. She went first, Ben, clinging to her back while Sam followed close behind. "There, I see them." Gunshots cracked through the air. Bullets whizzed past splintering trees. "Keep moving," Sam shouted. "Don't stop." They half ran, half slid down the ravine. Ellie's lungs burned. Her muscles screamed, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. At the bottom, a frozen stream stretched ahead. Beyond it, dense forest, where even torchlight couldn't penetrate. "Cross the stream," Ellie gasped. "Other side. They won't follow in the dark." They splashed through the ice-cold water, soaking their boots, their legs. Ben whimpered, but didn't cry out. Brave boy. So brave. Behind them, the shouting grew fainter. The Mercers' men had reached the ravine, but weren't following down. "They're turning back," Sam breathed. "For now." Ellie pushed deeper into the forest. "Come on, I know a place. They'll never find us." She led them through the darkness, navigating by instinct and memory. An hour later, they emerged into a small clearing. At its center stood a rock formation, hollowed out over centuries into a natural cave. "In here," Ellie said. "My pa showed me this place when I was little. Used to camp here during hunting trips." They crawled inside. The cave was small but dry, protected from the wind. Ellie dug into her pack, pulled out a tinder box, and got a small fire going. Ben was shivering violently. Sam pulled the boy close, wrapped his coat around both of them. "How did they find us?" Ellie asked. "Frederick must have had men watching your cabin, saw us leave. Then he knows we're running. He'll call for reinforcements. Probably already has." Sam's voice was hollow. "They won't stop, not until they have Ben." "Or until we stop them." Sam looked at her. "What do you mean?" "I mean I'm tired of running too." Ellie met his gaze, her jaw set. "Your father wants a fight. Let's give him one." "Ellie, you don't understand. My father—" "I understand plenty. Rich man thinks he owns the world, thinks he can take whatever he wants, push around whoever he pleases." Her voice hardened. "Well, he ain't never met an Irish woman protecting her own." "Your own," Ellie faltered. "Her own. When had she started thinking of them that way?" "You know what I mean," she muttered. But Sam was smiling. "Yeah, I think I do." They huddled together through the night, taking turns on watch. By dawn, the forest was silent. The Mercer's men had given up the chase for now. "We need a plan," Sam said as the sun crept over the peaks. "Montana's still our best bet, but we can't outrun them forever." "Then what?" Ellie thought of her cabin, her land, the banknote due in spring. Everything she had was back there waiting to be lost. Unless— "There's another way," she said slowly. "Risky, maybe stupid. Tell me." "We go back to town, face them head on." Sam stared at her. "That's suicide." "It's the last thing they'll expect. Frederick thinks we're running scared. If we turn up in town bold as brass, it throws off his whole plan." "And then what?" "Then we expose him. Tell everyone what the Mercers are really doing. Buying up land, threatening folks, trying to steal a child from his own father. Who would believe us? We're nobodies. They're Mercers." "That's the thing about nobodies," Ellie smiled grimly. "There's a lot more of us than there are of them." Sam was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked at Ben, still sleeping in his arms. "I've spent 2 years running," he said, "hiding, teaching my son that the world is too dangerous to face." "Sam, you're right." He lifted his head. "It's time to stand." Ellie felt something shift in her chest. Pride, maybe, or hope. "Then we do this together." "Together," Sam agreed. They shook hands, her calloused palm against his. It felt like a vow. "We should move," Ellie said. "There's another trail. Roundabout. Gets us to town without crossing Frederick's men." They broke camp and started walking. Ben rode on Sam's shoulders, still sleepy but steadier now. The sun was warm on their faces, the sky impossibly blue. "Miss Ellie?" Ben asked. "Yeah, honey?" "Are you going to marry my pa?" Ellie nearly tripped over her own feet. "What?" "You kissed him last night. I wasn't really asleep." Ben grinned. "So are you going to marry him?" "Ben." Sam's face went red. "That's not we weren't—" "It's okay, Pa. I like Miss Ellie. I think you should marry her." "It's complicated," Ellie managed. "Why?" "Because—" She looked at Sam for help. He just shrugged, equally flustered. "Because grown-up things are complicated." "That's dumb." Ben yawned. "When I grow up, I'm not going to make things complicated. If I love someone, I'll just tell them." Out of the mouths of babes. Ellie caught Sam's eye. He was smiling despite everything, the danger, the exhaustion, the impossible road ahead. "The boy makes a fair point," Sam said. "Shut up." "I'm just saying." I said shut up. But she was smiling too. They walked for hours, following trails only Ellie knew. By afternoon, they crested a ridge and saw the town of Clearwater spread out below. Smoke rose from chimneys. People moved through the streets. Normal life carrying on as if the world hadn't turned upside down. "There it is," Ellie said. "Ready?" Sam set Ben down, took Ellie's hand. "Ready." They started down the ridge, toward the town, toward the fight, toward whatever came next. The streets of Clearwater went quiet as they walked in. Ellie felt the stares, knew what they saw: a ragged woman, a travel-worn man, a small boy clinging to his father's hand. Trouble walking on 2 legs, 6 legs if you counted proper. "They're watching," Sam murmured. "Let them." The general store, the saloon, the bank with its brass fixtures and clean windows. Every doorway held a face, every window a pair of eyes. Word would spread fast. It always did in small towns. "Miss Brennan." Ellie turned. Ruth Hawkins stood outside her dress shop, needle still in hand, face creased with worry. "Ruth." "Child, what are you doing here? There's men been asking about you. Rough men. They said—" "I know what they said." Ruth's eyes moved to Sam, to Ben. Understanding dawned. "Lord have mercy. It's true then. You took in the Mercer boy." "I took in a sick child and his father. What they're called don't matter." "It matters to them." Ruth stepped closer, voice dropping. "Frederick Mercer's been buying drinks at the saloon all week, talking about rewards, $5,000 for information. Anyone take him up on it?" Ruth hesitated. "Not yet. But 5,000's a lot of money, Ellie. More than most folks here see in a lifetime." "I know." Sam stepped forward. "Ma'am, I'm sorry for any trouble we've caused. If there's danger to this town because of us—" "Hush!" Ruth waved her hand. "I buried 2 sons and a husband. Ain't much left that scares me." She looked at Ellie. "What's your plan, girl?" "Face him. Tell the truth. Let folks decide for themselves." "And if they decide wrong?" Ellie's jaw tightened. "Then at least we stood. That's more than most can say." Ruth studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Your mama would be proud. She was stubborn too." Ruth reached out, squeezed Ellie's hand. "I'll spread the word. The real word. Not the lies that Mercer boy's been spewing." "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." Ruth glanced toward the saloon. "He's in there now, half drunk and mean as a snake. You sure you want to do this?" Ellie looked at Sam. He looked back. "We're sure," they said together. The saloon doors swung open with a creak that silenced every voice inside. Ellie walked in first. Sam followed with Ben, the boy's hand tight in his. Frederick Mercer sat at the bar surrounded by 4 of his men. His coat was open, revealing a pearl-handled revolver. His eyes, already glazed with whiskey, sharpened when he saw them. "Well, well." He stood slowly, smile spreading like oil on water. "The prodigal cousin returns." "Frederick." "Samuel." Frederick's gaze slid to Ellie. "And the mountain woman. I have to say, cousin, your taste has declined since Margaret." Sam's whole body went rigid. "Don't say her name." "Why not? She was family, almost." Frederick took a step closer. "Father was heartbroken when she died, you know. All that work to bring you back into the fold wasted on some miner's daughter who couldn't even survive childbirth." "Shut your mouth." "Touched a nerve, did I?" Frederick's smile widened. "You always were sentimental, Samuel. It's your greatest weakness." "And what's yours?" Ellie asked. "The whiskey or the daddy issues?" The room went dead silent. Frederick turned to her, eyes cold. "I'm sorry, did the help just speak?" "The help just asked you a question. Answer it." "You have no idea who you're dealing with, girl." "I'm dealing with a grown man who chases children through blizzards because his daddy told him to." Ellie took a step forward. "That's who I'm dealing with." Frederick's hand moved toward his gun. "I wouldn't." Sam's voice was calm, but his hand rested on his own weapon. "You might be faster, but there's a lot of witnesses here. Hard to claim self-defense when you draw first." Frederick's hand stopped. His jaw worked. "You think these people will protect you?" He gestured at the watching crowd. "I've offered $5,000. 5,000. Someone in this room will talk. Tonight, tomorrow, it's only a matter of time. Maybe. Sam moved to stand beside Ellie. But we're done running. Whatever happens, happens here. Father will destroy you. Let him try. The two cousins stared at each other. The air crackled with decades of bad blood. Pa! Ben's small voice cut through the tension. Everyone turned. The boy stepped forward, chin lifted, despite the trembling in his limbs. His summer blue eyes found Frederick. Why do you hate us? Frederick blinked. What? Why do you hate us? Pa never did nothing to you. Mama was nice to everyone. Why do you want to take me away? This isn't about hate, boy. It's about family. Legacy. Things you're too young to understand. I understand plenty. Ben's voice grew stronger. I understand that Grandpa's mean. I understand that you do whatever he says because you're scared of him. I understand that Pa left everything, so I wouldn't grow up scared like you. The silence was deafening. Frederick's face went purple. You insolent little... He's right. A new voice. From the back of the saloon. Everyone turned. An old man sat in the corner nursing a whiskey. Ellie recognized him, Moses, her nearest neighbor, the hermit who rarely came to town. The boy's right, Moses repeated. I've seen what the Mercers do. Watch them buy up half of Colorado, crush anyone who got in their way. He stood slowly. Samuel Mercer walked away from all of it. Gave up a fortune to raise his son right. That takes more courage than anything your granddaddy ever did. Who the hell are you? Frederick demanded. Nobody important. Just a man who knows the difference between right and wrong. Moses looked around the room. And I reckon most folks here do too. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Ellie saw faces changing. Doubt creeping in. This is ridiculous. Frederick's voice rose. I'm offering $5,000. 5,000. All I need is information. Someone must want that money. Silence. Anyone? Frederick looked around wildly. Come on. Think about what you could do with that much. New equipment, new stock. Pay off your debts. Still silence. Then a man at the bar stood up. A farmer by the look of his clothes, weather-beaten face hands like leather. I could use $5,000, he said. Frederick's smile returned. See, a man with sense. What do you know? The farmer walked toward him, stopped an arm's length away. I know that woman there gave my family food last winter when we had nothing. I know her daddy helped build half the barns in this county. I know she's never turned away anyone who needed help. He leaned in. And I know that if you touch her, or that boy, you'll answer to every man in this room. Frederick's smile froze. Other men were standing now. The blacksmith, the general store owner, the pastor from the church on the hill. One by one they rose. You want information, the farmer continued. Here's some. This town takes care of its own, and Miss Brennan's one of ours. The room seemed to pulse with something Ellie had never felt before. Solidarity, community, all the things she'd thought she'd lost when her father died. She blinked back tears. Frederick looked around the room, saw the tide turning. His face went ugly. Fine. Have it your way. He started toward the door. But this isn't over. My father has resources you can't imagine. Lawyers, politicians, men who'll make your lives hell. Then bring them, Ellie called after him. We'll be right here. Frederick paused at the door, turned back one last time. You're making a mistake, cousin. A mistake you'll regret. Only mistake I made was running in the first place. Sam's voice was steady. I won't make it again. Frederick slammed through the doors and was gone. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Ben let out a whoop and threw himself at his father. Sam caught him, lifted him high, laughing and crying at the same time. The room erupted. People surged forward, shaking hands, clapping backs, offering words of support. Ruth Hawkins pushed through the crowd and pulled Ellie into a fierce hug. That was the bravest thing I ever saw, Ruth whispered. I was terrified. That's what makes it brave. The farmer who'd spoken first approached Sam, hand extended. Name's Thomas. Thomas Wright. I meant what I said. You need anything, you come to me. I appreciate that, Mr. Wright. More than you know. Just Wright, or Tom if you prefer. Wright looked at Ben. You got a brave son there, Mercer. A lot braver than most grown men I know. Ben beamed. Moses appeared at Ellie's elbow. That was well done, but it ain't over. I know. Frederick's a coward, but his father ain't. Josiah Mercer doesn't lose. He'll come himself now, with an army if he has to. Let him come. Ellie looked at Sam, found him looking back. We'll be ready. The celebration continued, but underneath it ran a current of unease. Everyone knew this was just the first battle. The war was still coming. That night, the townspeople insisted Sam and Ellie stay at the hotel. Free of charge, said the owner, a round man named Peters, who claimed Ellie's father had once saved his life in a snowstorm. Ben fell asleep the moment his head hit the pillow. Sam sat by the window, staring out at the darkened street. You should rest, Ellie said. Can't. She sat beside him. Their shoulders touched. What Frederick said, Sam began. About Margaret. Don't. I need you to know. She was sick. Even before the pregnancy. The doctors said she shouldn't try for another baby, but she wanted so badly to give Ben a sibling. His voice cracked. I should have stopped her. Should have said no, but I couldn't deny her anything. That's not weakness, Sam. That's love. Love killed her. No. Ellie took his hand. Love gave her a reason to try. There's a difference. Sam turned to look at her. In the dim light, his eyes were wet. How do you do that? Do what? Make everything make sense. Even the things that shouldn't. I don't. I know what it's like to carry guilt that isn't yours. Ellie squeezed his hand. My mother died giving birth to me. To a brother who died too. My whole life I wondered if my father blamed me. If every time he looked at me, he saw what he lost. Did he? No. He told me once that I was the best thing she ever gave him. That looking at me was like seeing her again every day. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I didn't believe him. Not really. Not until he was gone. Sam reached up, wiped her tears with his thumb. Ben was right, he said softly. About what? Margaret would have liked you. She would have liked you very much. Ellie leaned into him. His arms came around her warm and strong. What happens now? She whispered. I don't know, but whatever it is, we face it together. Together, she agreed. They sat like that for a long time, watching the night deepen outside the window. Tomorrow would bring new battles, new threats. But tonight, for the first time in years, neither of them felt alone. Morning came too soon. Ellie woke to the sound of horses. Many horses. She was at the window in seconds. What she saw made her blood freeze. A carriage, black as a hearse pulled by 4 matching grays, flanked by a dozen riders in matching coats. Wealth and power made visible. Sam. He was already awake, already pulling on his boots. It's my father, he said. You sure? That's his carriage. Had it made special in Philadelphia. Sam's voice was flat. He's here. Ben sat up in bed, rubbing his eyes. Pa, what's happening? Stay here with Miss Ellie, son. Sam, no. Ellie grabbed his arm. We do this together. Remember, this is different. My father is just a man. A mean, powerful man, but still just a man. She lifted her chin. I didn't back down from Frederick. I won't back down from his daddy either. Sam stared at her. Something shifted in his face. You're remarkable, he said. I'm stubborn. There's a difference. Despite everything, he laughed. They dressed quickly, woke Ben, and headed downstairs. The lobby was already full, townspeople gathering, drawn by the commotion outside. Ruth Hawkins found them first. "The whole town's watching. Whatever happens, you've got witnesses." "That might not matter to Josiah Mercer," Sam said. "It matters to us." Thomas Wright pushed through the crowd. "We've got your back, Sam. Just say the word." "I appreciate that, Tom. But this is family business. I need to handle it." Family business stopped being private when that fancy carriage rolled into our town. Wright crossed his arms. "You're one of us now, like it or not." Sam looked around at the faces surrounding them. Farmers, shopkeepers, regular folks who'd chosen to stand with strangers against power. "Thank you," he said. "All of you." "Don't thank us yet," Wright replied. "Let's see what the old man wants first." They stepped outside. Josiah Mercer was already dismounting from his carriage. He was smaller than Ellie expected, a compact man in his 60s with silver hair and cold gray eyes. But there was a weight to him, an authority that seemed to bend the air around him. Behind him, Frederick skulked like a kicked dog. "Samuel." Josiah's voice was smooth, controlled. "It's been a long time." "Not long enough." "Still bitter, I see. I'd hoped 2 years of poverty might have taught you some perspective." "It taught me plenty. Just not the lessons you intended." Josiah's eyes moved to Ben. Something flickered there, possessiveness maybe, or hunger. "Benjamin, you've grown." Ben pressed against his father's leg. "Hello, grandfather." "Don't call me that." Josiah waved his hand. "Grandfather sounds so aged. You may call me sir." "I'll call you nothing at all," Ben said quietly. "If you don't mind." Ellie felt a surge of pride. Josiah's expression didn't change, but his eyes hardened. "Frederick tells me you've been stirring up trouble, Samuel. Turning the locals against us." I told them the truth. What they do with it is their choice. "The truth?" Josiah laughed softly. "The truth is that you abandoned your responsibilities, your heritage, your family name, all for some romantic notion of honest poverty. I abandoned cruelty. There's a difference." "Is there?" Josiah stepped closer. "You think these people care about you? About your principles? They care about my money. That's all anyone cares about." "You're wrong." "Am I?" Josiah looked around at the gathered townspeople, raised his voice. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm prepared to make an offer. $20,000 to this town. New church, new school, whatever you need. All I ask in return is that you hand over my grandson." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. 20,000. It was an unimaginable sum. Ellie felt her stomach drop. "Think about it," Josiah continued. $20,000. Enough to transform this entire community, all for one small boy who belongs with his family anyway. Silence. Then Thomas Wright stepped forward. "Mr. Mercer, is it?" "That's right." "I've got a question for you." Josiah smiled indulgently. "Ask." "When you look at that boy there, what do you see?" Josiah's smile faltered. "I'm sorry." "Simple question. What do you see?" "I see my grandson, my heir, the future of the Mercer legacy." "That's funny." Wright scratched his chin. "Because I look at that boy and I see a child. A scared, brave child who loves his pa and just wants to be left alone." He turned to face the crowd. $20,000 is a lot of money, more than any of us will ever have. But I've got to ask, what's a child's life worth? Nobody spoke. "That boy's not property," Wright continued. "He's not a legacy, he's a person. And if we sell him to the highest bidder, what does that make us?" Ruth Hawkins stepped forward. "I've lost children. 2 sons in the war. I know what it means to have someone take what you love." She looked at Josiah with contempt. "Keep your money, Mr. Mercer. We don't want it." One by one, others joined her. The blacksmith, the shopkeeper, the pastor, Even the hotel owner, who had to be feeling the loss of that money most of all. Josiah's face went white with rage. "You're all fools," he hissed. "I could buy this entire town. I could destroy every business, every home. Pa." Ben stepped forward. His small body was trembling, but his voice was clear. "Pa, I want to say something." Sam hesitated, then nodded. Ben looked up at his grandfather, the man who represented everything his father had fled. "Grandfather, sir, I know you're powerful. I know you have more money than everyone here. But money doesn't make a family. Love does." The boy's voice cracked, but didn't break. "My pa loves me. Miss Ellie loves me. These people don't even know me, and they're standing up for me anyway. That's more than you ever gave." Josiah stared at his grandson. For one moment, something human flickered in those cold eyes. Then it was gone. "You've poisoned him," Josiah said to Sam. "Filled his head with nonsense." "I filled his head with truth." "There is no truth. Only power. I thought I taught you that." "You taught me a lot of things." Sam pulled Ben close. "I've spent my whole life unlearning them." Josiah was silent for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was the most terrifying thing Ellie had ever seen. "Very well. You want war, you'll have it." He turned to his men. "Burn the hotel. Burn the saloon. Burn everything until these people understand what it means to defy me." "No," Ellie screamed. But before anyone could move, a new voice rang out. "I wouldn't do that if I were you, Mr. Mercer." Everyone turned. A man on horseback had appeared at the edge of the crowd. He wore a badge. Behind him, 3 deputies sat their horses, hands on their weapons. "Sheriff Dawson," Wright said. "Good timing." The sheriff dismounted slowly. He was a lean man, weathered by years of frontier justice. "Got word there might be trouble. Rode in from the county seat." He looked at Josiah. "Mr. Mercer, I know who you are. I know how much power you have. But you're in my territory now. And in my territory, we don't burn down towns. You can't stop me. Maybe not forever, but I can stop you today." Dawson rested his hand on his pistol. "And today's all that matters right now." The standoff stretched. Josiah's men looked at each other uncertainly. "This isn't over," Josiah said finally. "I expect not," Dawson replied. "But for today I'd suggest you and your boys head back to wherever you came from, before I start finding laws you've broken." Josiah stood rigid with fury. Then he turned to Sam. "You'll regret this, boy. Everything you love I'll take from you. Everything you've built I'll destroy." "You already took everything once," Sam said quietly. "When Margaret died and you showed up talking about property rights and inheritance. That's when I knew what you really were." "And what's that?" "Empty." Sam's voice held no anger, only pity. "Just a hollow man trying to fill himself with things that can't fill anyone." For 1 second, Josiah Mercer looked old, tired, almost human. Then the mask slammed back into place. "This isn't over," he repeated. He climbed into his carriage. Frederick followed, not meeting anyone's eyes. The riders fell into formation. The black carriage rolled out of town, leaving silence in its wake. Ben burst into tears. Sam knelt, gathered his son into his arms. "It's okay. It's okay. He's gone." "Is he coming back?" Sam looked at Ellie. She looked back. "I don't know," Sam said honestly. "But whatever happens, we'll face it together." "All of us," Ellie added. "Together." The crowd began to disperse. Ruth Hawkins herded them toward the church, talking about food and rest and community. Sheriff Dawson approached Sam. "You've made a powerful enemy, Mr. Mercer." "I was born his enemy. Just took me a while to realize it." "Fair enough." Dawson tipped his hat. "I'll keep men in town for a few weeks. After that, you're on your own." "Understood. And Sheriff, thank you." "Don't thank me. Thank whoever sent word." Dawson glanced at Ellie. "Someone rode through the night to fetch me. Said it was life or death." Ellie froze. I didn't. Wasn't you. Dawson smiled slightly. Old hermit name of Moses. Said he owed a debt to a dead man. Something about a blizzard years ago. He mounted his horse. Seems like you've got more friends than you knew, Miss Brennan. He rode off. Ellie looked around for Moses, but the old man had vanished like smoke. He knew my father, she said softly. Pa helped him once, never talked about it. Your father sounds like he was something special. He was. Ellie wiped her eyes. He really was. Sam took her hand. Ben took the other. They stood in the empty street, 3 broken people holding each other up. It wasn't victory, not yet. But it was something. It was a start. 2 weeks passed without word from Josiah Mercer. Ellie didn't trust the silence. Silence from a man like that wasn't peace, it was planning. She stood in her cabin doorway watching Sam split wood in the yard. His movements were steady, rhythmic. The sound of the axe had become familiar now, comforting even. Ben sat on the porch reading aloud from his mother's book of poetry. His voice carried on the cold air, mixing with the crack of splitting logs. Miss Ellie. She turned. Ruth Hawkins was riding up the trail, moving faster than a woman her age should. Ruth, what's wrong? Ruth dismounted before her horse fully stopped. Her face was pale. There's men in town, lawyers, from Denver. Ellie's stomach dropped. Mercer's lawyers. They're at the bank right now, talking to Peterson. Ruth grabbed Ellie's arm. They're buying up every debt in the county, every mortgage, every loan. Sam had stopped chopping. He walked toward them, axe still in hand. What does that mean? Ellie asked, though she already knew. It means, if anyone owes money to the bank, they now owe it to Josiah Mercer. Ruth's voice shook. And Mercer can call those debts whenever he wants. My land. Ellie's throat tightened. The banknote. Already transferred, as of this morning. Ruth looked at Sam. He's not coming with guns, Mr. Mercer. He's coming with paper, and paper's harder to fight. Sam's face had gone hard as granite. How long do we have? They're giving everyone 30 days to pay in full. If they can't... Ruth didn't finish. 30 days. Ellie laughed bitterly. I don't have $30, let alone what I owe. None of us do. Wright's farm is mortgaged. The hotel. The general store. Ruth wrung her hands. He's going to take everything. The whole town. Ben had come to stand beside his father. His small face was pale. Pa. What's happening? Sam knelt to meet his son's eyes. Grandfather's trying a different way to hurt us. But we're not going to let him. How? Sam looked at Ellie. She looked back. Neither of them had an answer. That night they sat around Ellie's table, the lamp burning low. There has to be something, Ellie said for the 100th time. Some way to fight this. Legally, he's in the clear. Sam's voice was flat. He bought the debts fair and square. He can call them whenever he likes. Then we find another way. What way? Rob a bank, beg for mercy? Sam slammed his palm on the table. I know my father. He doesn't negotiate. He doesn't compromise. He destroys. Then we destroy him first. Sam stared at her. How? Ellie's mind raced. There had to be something. Some weakness. Some crack in Josiah Mercer's armor. The mines, she said suddenly. What? You said your father made his fortune in silver mines, in Colorado. Yeah, so, how did he treat his workers? Sam's expression darkened. Like animals, worse than animals. I saw men die in those tunnels, cave-ins, explosions, and my father just hired more. Was it legal? Does it matter he owned the judges, the lawmakers, anyone who might have held him accountable? But if there was proof? Ellie leaned forward. Real proof. Documents, testimony, something that couldn't be ignored. Sam was quiet for a long moment. "My mother," he said finally. "What?" "My mother kept records. Everything my father did, she wrote down. She hated what he'd become." Sam's voice cracked. "She died when I was 15. But before she did, she told me about a lockbox. Said if I ever needed protection from my father, I should find it." "Where is it?" "Denver, in a bank vault. I never went looking for it. Never thought I'd need to." Ellie grabbed his hand. "We need it now. Denver's 300 miles away, in the middle of winter, with my father's men watching every road." "Then we don't take the roads." Sam looked at her like she'd lost her mind. "Ellie, I know these mountains, every pass, every trail. I can get us to Denver without touching a single road. It's suicide. Staying here is suicide." Ellie's grip tightened. "In 30 days, everyone in this town loses everything. Because of us. Because they stood up for us." Her voice broke. "I can't let that happen. I won't." Sam studied her face. The fear there, the determination, the stubborn courage that had drawn him to her from the first moment. "You're crazy," he said. "I know. It's the dead of winter. I know. We could die out there. I know." Sam closed his eyes. When he opened them, something had changed. "Then we leave tomorrow." "What about Ben?" They both looked at the boy asleep by the fire. So small. So vulnerable. "Ruth will take him," Sam said. "She offered once. Said she missed having children in her house." "Will he be safe?" "Safer than with us." Sam's voice was heavy. "And if we don't come back, at least he'll have someone who loves him." Ellie's heart cracked. "Sam, don't." He pulled her close. "Don't say it. We're coming back. Both of us." She buried her face in his chest, felt his heart beating against hers. "Both of us," she whispered. Morning came too fast. Ben clung to his father, tears streaming down his face. "Why can't I come? I'll be good. I promise I'll be good." "It's not about being good, son." Sam knelt, cupping the boy's face. "This journey is too dangerous. I need you safe. I need to know you're here waiting for me." "But what if you don't come back?" Sam's composure cracked. He pulled Ben into a fierce hug. "I'm coming back. I swear to God, and your mother, and everything holy, I am coming back for you. Promise. Promise." Ruth stood nearby, her own eyes wet. "I'll take care of him, Mr. Mercer. Like he was my own." "I know you will." Sam released Ben slowly. "Mrs. Hawkins has been where you are, son. She lost her boys too. She understands." Ben looked at Ruth. Something passed between them, recognition maybe. The shared language of grief. "Will you tell me about them?" Ben asked quietly. "Your sons." Ruth smiled through her tears. "Every night if you want." Ben nodded. Then he turned to Ellie. "Miss Ellie." "Yeah, honey." "When you come back, will you still be here with us?" Ellie's throat closed. She knelt beside Sam. "I'm not going anywhere. You understand. This is home now. You and your pa, this cabin, these mountains." She kissed his forehead. "Wild horses couldn't drag me away." Ben threw his arms around her neck. "I love you, Miss Ellie." The words hit her like lightning. She held him tight, fighting back sobs. "I love you too, baby. So much." They said their goodbyes, mounted their horses, started toward the high passes. Ben's voice followed them up the trail. "Come back. You promised. Come back." Ellie didn't look back. If she looked back, she'd never leave. The first 3 days were brutal. The trails Ellie knew were treacherous in winter, narrow ledges covered in ice, steep drops hidden by snow. They moved slowly, carefully, leading the horses through the worst sections. At night, they sheltered in caves and abandoned cabins. pressed together for warmth, talked to keep the fear at bay. "Tell me about your mother," Ellie asked on the third night. Sam stared into their small fire. "She was beautiful, gentle, too gentle for my father's world." "What happened to her?" "She got sick. Something in her lungs. The doctors couldn't fix it." His voice went hollow. "I think she gave up, stopped fighting. Living with my father had worn her down to nothing." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. She's at peace now. That's more than she ever had with him." Ellie took his hand. "The lockbox. What do you think is in it?" "I don't know. Financial records maybe, proof of bribes, lists of men who died in the mines and were never reported." Sam shook his head. "Whatever it is, it was important enough that she wanted me to have it. Important enough that she kept it secret from my father for 20 years. Will it be enough to stop him?" "I don't know that either." Sam met her eyes. "But it's all we have." On the fifth day the storm hit. It came out of nowhere, one moment clear skies, the next, a wall of white. Wind that cut through every layer. Snow so thick, Ellie couldn't see her horse's ears. "We have to find shelter," she shouted over the howling. "Where?" "There's a cabin." "Half a mile ahead. Stay close." They pushed through the blizzard, every step a battle. Ellie's hands went numb on the reins. Her face burned with cold. Just when she thought she couldn't go any further, she saw it. A dark shape against the white. A cabin. They stumbled inside, half frozen. The cabin was abandoned, but the walls were solid. The roof intact. "Fire!" Sam gasped. "Need fire." Ellie's hands shook too badly to work the tinderbox. Sam took it from her, his own fingers barely functioning. On the fourth try, a spark caught. They huddled by the tiny flame, shivering violently. "That was close," Ellie managed. "Too close." Sam pulled her against him. "How much further to Denver?" "Another 100 miles. Maybe more." "Through this storm will pass. They always do. And if it doesn't..." Ellie didn't answer. Couldn't answer. They held each other through the night, listening to the wind scream outside. Morning brought stillness. The storm had passed, leaving the world buried in white. But the sky was clear. The sun was bright. "We lost time," Ellie said, assessing their supplies. "Food's running low." "How low?" 3 days, maybe 4 if we ration." "And Denver?" 5 days, 6 if the trails are blocked." Sam was quiet. Then he started repacking their bags. "Then we don't waste any more." They rode hard that day. And the next. And the next. On the 8th day they saw Denver in the distance. The city sprawled across the plain, smoke rising from 1,000 chimneys. Bigger than anything Ellie had ever seen. "We made it," she breathed. "Not yet." Sam's face was tense. "My father will have men here, watching the banks, watching everywhere." "Then we don't let them see us." They entered the city at dusk, hoods pulled low. The streets were crowded, anonymous. Just 2 more travelers in a sea of strangers. The bank was closed when they arrived. They found a cheap hotel nearby and waited for morning. "Tomorrow?" Sam said, staring at the ceiling. "Tomorrow we end this. One way or another." He turned to look at her. "Ellie, if something goes wrong..." "Nothing's going wrong." "But if it does, I need you to know." She kissed him, hard, desperate. "Tell me after," she said against his lips. "When it's done, tell me everything. Everything. Everything." He pulled her close, and for a few hours they forgot about Josiah Mercer. Forgot about debts and threats and danger. For a few hours there was only them. Dawn broke cold and gray. They dressed in silence, checked their weapons, steeled themselves for what was coming. The bank opened at 9. They were there at 8:30, waiting across the street. "There," Sam pointed. "That's Frederick, at the door." Ellie's blood ran cold. "He's guarding the bank." My father must know the lockbox is here. He's had 20 years to figure it out. Sam's jaw tightened. This is a trap. Then we spring it. Ellie, we didn't come 300 miles to turn back now. She checked her pistol. You go in the front. I'll find another way. What other way? Leave that to me. She met his eyes. Give me 10 minutes, then walk in like you own the place. I'm not leaving you. 10 minutes, Sam. Trust me. He stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. 10 minutes. Ellie slipped away. The bank had a back entrance, service door for deliveries. She found it in an alley guarded by a single man who was more interested in his cigarette than his job. She waited until he turned, then moved. The blow wasn't hard enough to kill, just hard enough to drop. He crumpled without a sound. Inside the bank was quiet. Empty offices, dusty corridors. She followed the signs to the vault. The vault door was open. Inside, rows of lockboxes lined the walls. Ellie started searching. Number 427. That was what Sam had said. Number 427. Found it. The box was small, dusty. It had been here for decades. She pulled it out, hands trembling. Opened it. Inside were papers. Dozens of them. Letters, ledgers, photographs. And on top a note in faded handwriting. To my son Samuel. If you're reading this, I'm gone. And if you've come looking, things must be very bad indeed. Everything in this box is true. Every death, every bribe, every lie. Use it wisely. Your father is not invincible. He only wants you to think he is. I love you. I always loved you. Mother. Ellie's eyes burned. That's far enough. She spun. Frederick Mercer stood in the vault doorway, pistol drawn. Did you really think we wouldn't be watching? He smiled. Hand over the box. Now. Ellie clutched it to her chest. No. I wasn't asking. And I wasn't refusing to ask. I was just refusing. Frederick's smile faltered. You're either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. Give me the box, Miss Brennan, and I'll let you walk out of here alive. You'll let me? That's generous, considering I'm the one holding your family's dirty secrets. Frederick's face darkened. You don't know what you're dealing with. I know exactly what I'm dealing with. A scared little man doing his uncle's bidding because he doesn't know how to be anything else. Shut up. Make me. Frederick raised the pistol. His hand was shaking. Last chance. Ellie heard footsteps behind him, saw Sam's shadow in the doorway. She smiled. No. Last chance is yours. Frederick turned. Sam's fist connected with his jaw. The pistol went flying. Frederick hit the ground hard and didn't get up. You okay? Sam asked. Better than okay. Ellie held up the box. I found it. Sam's eyes went to the box, to the note on top, his mother's handwriting. Is that? Everything, everything she saved, everything he's done. Sam took the note with trembling hands. Read it once, twice. A tear slid down his cheek. She knew, he whispered. She always knew. And now we know too. Ellie touched his face. Let's finish this. They left Frederick unconscious on the vault floor, walked out the front door of the bank, into the waiting rifles of Josiah Mercer's men. Going somewhere. Josiah stepped forward, flanked by a dozen armed guards. I don't think so. Sam pushed Ellie behind him. Let her go. She's got nothing to do with this. Oh, but she does. She has everything to do with this. Josiah smiled. She's the reason you stopped running, the reason you started fighting. She's your weakness, Samuel, just like your mother was mine. Don't you dare compare them. Why not? They're both the same, weak women who made strong men soft. Josiah held out his hand. Give me the box. No. Give me the box, or watch her die. A guard pressed a rifle to Ellie's back. Sam's face went white. Sam, don't, Ellie said. Don't give it to him. Quiet. The guard shoved her. Sam's hands tightened on the box. You have 5 seconds, Josiah said. 5, 4, 3. Wait. Everyone turned. A man was pushing through the crowd, well-dressed, distinguished, carrying a leather briefcase. Who the hell are you? Josiah demanded. Marcus Webb, attorney at law. The man held up a document. And I'm here to inform you that the contents of that lockbox were filed with the Denver District Court this morning. Josiah's face went gray. What? Your wife, Mr. Mercer. She was cleverer than you gave her credit for. Webb smiled coldly. She made copies, sent them to my father 30 years ago with instructions to file them if her son ever needed protection. That's impossible. It's very possible, and very legal. Webb looked at Sam. Mr. Mercer the younger. Mr. Mercer, you're free to go. Your father, however, has some questions to answer. Josiah stood frozen. For the first time in his life, he looked old, defeated. This isn't over, he said. But his voice had lost its power. Yes, Sam said quietly. It is. He took Ellie's hand, and they walked away. The ride back took 12 days. 12 days of frozen trails and bitter winds. 12 days of riding hard, sleeping little, pushing forward. Ellie's body ached in places she didn't know could ache. But none of it mattered. They were going home. Do you think he's okay? Sam asked on the 10th night, huddled by their small fire. Ben, I keep dreaming about him, calling for me, crying. Ellie took his hand. Ruth's taking care of him. He's fine. You don't know that. I know Ruth. She'd die before she let anything happen to that boy. Sam was quiet for a long moment. Then he squeezed her hand. I don't deserve you. Probably not. He laughed despite himself. It was the first real laugh she'd heard from him since Denver. When this is over, he said. When everything's settled, I want to ask you something. Ask me now. No. Proper. The way it should be done. He looked at her. Will you wait? Ellie's heart hammered. Depends on what you're asking. You know what I'm asking. Maybe I want to hear you say it. Sam pulled her close. His lips brushed her ear. I'm asking you to be my wife, to be Ben's mother, to build a life with us on that ridge of yours. His voice cracked. I'm asking you to let me love you for whatever time we have left. Ellie couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Is that a no? Sam asked nervously. She kissed him, deep, fierce. Everything she couldn't put into words. That's a yes, she whispered. That's always been a yes. They held each other until the fire burned to embers. On the 12th day, Clearwater came into view. The town looked the same. Smoke rising from chimneys. People moving through the streets. Normal life carrying on. But something was different. Look, Sam pointed. A crowd was gathered in the town square. Dozens of people, more than Ellie had ever seen in one place. What's happening? They rode closer, faces turned toward them. Recognition dawned, then cheering. The crowd surged forward, surrounding their horses, hands reaching up, voices shouting. They're back. They made it. God bless you both. Thomas Wright pushed through, grinning from ear to ear. You crazy fools, you actually did it. Did what? Ellie was overwhelmed. How do you know? Word came 3 days ago. Josiah Mercer's been arrested, all his debts voided. The whole territory's talking about it. Wright grabbed Sam's hand, shook it hard. You took down the most powerful man in Colorado. You and this wild woman here. We had help, Sam said. A lawyer named Webb. We know. He sent telegrams to every newspaper from here to San Francisco. Wright's eyes were wet. You saved us, all of us, every farm, every business, every home. Ellie looked around at the faces surrounding them. The farmer who'd stood up to Frederick. The shopkeeper who'd refused Josiah's money. The pastor, the blacksmith, the hotel owner. They'd risked everything for strangers, and now those strangers had paid them back. "Where's Ben?" Sam asked suddenly. "Where's my son?" The crowd parted. Ruth Hawkins stood at the back holding Ben's hand. The boy's face was pale, uncertain, like he didn't quite believe what he was seeing. "Pa!" Sam dismounted so fast he nearly fell. He crossed the distance in 3 strides and swept Ben into his arms. "I'm here. I'm here. I told you I'd come back." Ben clung to him, sobbing. "I was scared. I was so scared. You were gone so long and I thought, I know, but I'm here now. I'm not going anywhere." Ellie dismounted slowly. Her legs were shaking. Ben lifted his head from his father's shoulder. His eyes found hers. "Miss Ellie? Hey, honey? You came back too." "I promised, didn't I?" Ben reached for her. Sam shifted, making room, and suddenly all 3 of them were holding each other, crying and laughing and not caring who saw. Ruth Hawkins wiped her eyes with her apron. "That boy talked about you every day," she said. "Every single day. When's Pa coming back? When's Miss Ellie coming home? Drove me half crazy." "Thank you." Sam's voice was thick. "For taking care of him." "Don't thank me. He took care of me." Ruth smiled. "Reminded me what it's like to have someone to fuss over." The crowd began to disperse, but the warmth remained. People clapped Sam's back, hugged Ellie, welcomed them home. Home. The word felt different now, fuller. That evening they sat in Ellie's cabin. Their cabin. The fire crackled. Ben was asleep in the corner, exhausted from excitement. "What happens now?" Ellie asked. "Webb says the trial will take months, maybe years." Sam stared into the flames. "My father's lawyers are fighting everything, but the evidence is solid. My mother made sure of that. Will you have to testify?" "Probably, at some point." He turned to look at her. "But not yet. Right now I just want to be here. With you. With Ben." "What about the money, the Mercer fortune?" Sam was quiet for a long moment. "I don't want it. Any of it. Blood money built on broken backs." He shook his head. "Let Frederick have it. Let the lawyers divide it up. I have everything I need right here." Ellie moved closer to him. "You really mean that?" "Every word. You're giving up millions of dollars. I'm gaining something worth more." She leaned into him. His arm came around her shoulders. "When do you want to do it?" she asked. "Do what?" "The wedding. You did ask, remember?" Sam smiled. "I was thinking spring, when the wild roses bloom." "That's 4 months away." "Is that too long?" Ellie pretended to consider. "I suppose I can wait, if you make it worth my while." "And how would I do that?" She kissed him softly. "You'll think of something." The weeks that followed were the happiest Ellie had known. Winter slowly loosened its grip. The days grew longer. The snow began to melt. Sam threw himself into work on the cabin, expanded it room by room, built new furniture, repaired everything that had fallen into disrepair during Ellie's years alone. Ben followed him everywhere, learning by watching. The boy had changed in the months since that first desperate night. Filled out, grown confident, started calling Ellie Ma without hesitation. The first time it happened, Ellie had to excuse herself to cry in the barn. "You're being ridiculous," she told herself, wiping her eyes. But she wasn't. She was being exactly what she needed to be. A mother. A partner. A woman who had finally stopped surviving and started living. Ruth visited often, bringing gossip from town and fresh-baked bread. Thomas Wright stopped by to discuss spring planting. Even old Moses emerged from his hermitage to share a meal, gruff and quiet but present. "You've done good," Moses told her one evening. Your pa would be proud. You think so? I know so. Moses looked at Sam, who was teaching Ben to whittle by the fire. That man there, he's the real thing. Don't find many like him. I know. So don't screw it up. Ellie laughed. Thanks for the advice. Any time. In March, a letter arrived from Denver. Sam read it alone in the barn. When he came inside, his face was unreadable. What is it? Ellie asked. My father. He's dying. Ellie's breath caught. What? Heart failure. The doctors give him weeks, maybe days. Sam set down the letter. He's asking to see me. The cabin went silent. Ben looked up from his books, sensing the shift. Pa. It's okay, son. Just some news. What are you going to do? Ellie asked quietly. Sam didn't answer right away. He walked to the window, stared out at the mountains. I spent 20 years hating that man, running from him, fighting him. His voice was hollow. And now he's dying, and I don't know how to feel. You don't have to feel anything. Don't I? Sam turned to face her. He's still my father. Whatever else he is, he's still the man who gave me life. He's also the man who made your life hell. I know. Ellie crossed to him, took his hands. What do you want to do? Forget what you should do. What do you want? Sam closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were wet. I want to go. Not for him. For me. He swallowed hard. I need to look him in the eye one last time. Tell him what I couldn't say before. Then go. You're not going to argue. Would it change your mind? No. Then why waste the breath? Ellie squeezed his hands. Go. Say what you need to say, and come home. What if... You're coming home, Sam. That's not a question. That's a fact. He pulled her close, held her like she was the only solid thing in a spinning world. I love you, he whispered. I know. Now go pack. Sam left the next morning. Ben wanted to go with him, but Sam said no. Too far, too hard, too uncertain. I'll be back before the roses bloom, Sam promised. I swear it. You better, Ben said. Ma's already planning the wedding. Sam laughed, hugged his son, kissed Ellie one last time. Then he rode away. The waiting was the hardest part. Ellie threw herself into work, preparing the garden for spring, mending clothes, teaching Ben his letters, anything to keep her mind occupied. But at night in the dark, she worried. What if Josiah had one last trick? What if it was a trap? What if Sam never came back? You're going to wear a hole in that floor, Ruth observed one evening. Ellie stopped pacing. I can't help it. He's fine. He'll be fine. You don't know that. I know that man loves you more than his own life, and I know he wouldn't leave you and that boy alone. Ruth patted the chair beside her. Sit, have some tea, stop borrowing trouble. Ellie sat, but she didn't stop worrying. 2 weeks passed, then 3. The snow melted. The first green shoots appeared. The wild roses began to bud. Still no word. On the 24th day, Ellie was in the garden when Ben came running. Mama, someone's coming! She dropped her tools, ran to the ridge. A single rider, coming up the trail. Sam. Ellie flew down the path, skirts flying, tears streaming. Sam barely had time to dismount before she was in his arms. You're late, she gasped. I know. I'm sorry. I was worried sick. I know. Don't ever do that again. I won't. He held her face in his hands. I'm home. For good. What happened? Your father. Dead. 3 days after I arrived. Sam's voice was steady. We talked. Once. At the end. What did you say? I told him I forgave him. Not for his sake. For mine. Sam's eyes were clear. And I told him that everything he tried to destroy my family, my life, my happiness was stronger than ever. That he'd failed. That love won. What did he say? Nothing. He just looked at me. And then he closed his eyes. Sam paused. I think at the very end he understood what he'd lost. What he could have had if he'd chosen differently. Do you feel sorry for him? A little. He died alone, surrounded by lawyers and servants. Nobody who loved him. Sam pulled Ellie closer. I don't ever want that. I want to die old in my bed with you beside me and grandchildren in the yard. Grandchildren? We haven't even gotten married yet. Better fix that then. Ben came barreling into them, nearly knocking them over. Pa, you're back. You're finally back. I'm back, son. I'm back forever. The three of them stood there, tangled together, while the spring wind carried the scent of new beginnings. They married on the first day of May. The whole town came. Ruth made Ellie's dress from white linen and lace. Thomas Wright served as best man. Ben stood beside his father, holding the rings like they were sacred relics. The ceremony was simple. A few words from the pastor, vows spoken under a blue sky. Do you, Samuel Mercer, take this woman? I do. Do you, Eleanor Brennan, take this man? I do. Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you man and wife. Sam kissed her. The crowd cheered. Ben threw wildflowers in the air. Ellie laughed through her tears. She'd never imagined this. Never dreamed she could have this. A husband who looked at her like she hung the moon. A son who called her Ma. A community that had become family. Mrs. Mercer, Sam said, grinning. Mr. Mercer. Doesn't that sound strange? A little. She kissed him again. I could get used to it. The celebration lasted all day. Food and dancing and toasts. Ruth cried. Moses showed up with a hand-carved rocking chair as a wedding gift. Thomas Wright got drunk and made a speech about love conquering all that went on for 20 minutes. As the sun set, Sam and Ellie slipped away to the ridge above the cabin, their spot, where they could see the whole valley spread out below. Happy? Sam asked. More than I ever thought possible. Me too. He pulled her close. You know I think about that first night, the storm, the knocking. So do I. If you hadn't opened the door, if you'd been anyone else. But I did open it, and I'm exactly who I am. Ellie leaned into him. Maybe that's the point. Maybe we were supposed to find each other. You believe in fate. I believe in choices. You chose to knock. I chose to open. We chose each other. She looked up at him. That's better than fate. Sam kissed her forehead. I love you, Ellie Mercer. I love you too, Sam Mercer. They watched the stars come out one by one. The summer passed in golden days and quiet nights. Ellie's garden flourished. Sam finished the new barn. Ben grew another 2 inches and started reading chapter books. In August, Ellie realized she hadn't bled in 2 months. She didn't tell Sam right away. Wanted to be sure. Went to see the doctor in town, who confirmed what she already knew. That evening, she found Sam in the barn, mending a harness. I need to tell you something. He looked up, immediately alert. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. She took his hands, placed them on her belly. We're having a baby. Sam went still, completely, utterly still. A baby. In February. Maybe March. A baby. He said it again like he couldn't quite believe it. Our baby. Our baby. Sam fell to his knees, pressed his forehead against her stomach. His shoulders shook. Sam, are you okay? I'm perfect. He looked up at her, tears streaming. I'm absolutely perfect. Ben took the news with typical 8-year-old enthusiasm. I'm going to be a big brother. I'm going to teach them everything. How to ride and fish and read and... Slow down, honey. Ellie laughed. They won't be here for a while yet. But when they are, I'll be the best big brother ever. I promise." Ben threw his arms around her. "I love you, Ma. I love you too, sweetheart. So much." The months passed. Ellie's belly grew. Sam became increasingly protective, driving her crazy with his fussing. "I'm pregnant, not dying," she told him for the 100th time. "I know, I can't lose anyone else." His voice cracked. "I can't." Ellie softened, touched his face. "You're not going to lose me. I'm too stubborn to die. Promise. Promise." February came with a blizzard. The pain started at midnight. By dawn, Ellie was gripping Sam's hand hard enough to break bones. "Ruth's not here," Sam said, panicked. "The storm. She can't get through." "Then you're delivering this baby." "I don't know how." "Figure it out." The next hours were a blur of pain and fear and determination. Sam did everything Ellie told him, hands steady, despite his terror. And then, as the sun broke through the clouds, a cry split the air. "A girl," Sam breathed. "It's a girl." He placed the baby in Ellie's arms, tiny, perfect, screaming with life. "Hello, little one." Ellie was crying and laughing at the same time. "Hello." "What do we call her?" Sam asked, voice thick. Ellie looked at him. At this man who had walked through a blizzard and into her life, who had given her everything she never knew she wanted. "Margaret," she said, "after her grandmother." Sam's face crumpled. He kissed Ellie's forehead, then the baby's. "Margaret, Maggie, it's perfect." Ben burst into the room, having been banned to the barn for the duration. "Is it here? Is it?" He stopped, eyes wide. "She's so tiny." "Come meet your sister," Ellie said. Ben crept forward, looked at the baby with wonder. "Hi, Maggie. I'm Ben. I'm your brother." He touched her tiny hand. "I'm gonna take care of you forever. I promise." Maggie wrapped her fingers around his thumb, and Ben's whole face transformed with love. Spring came again to the ridge. Ellie stood in the doorway of her cabin, watching her family in the yard. Sam splitting wood, Ben chasing chickens, baby Maggie in her cradle on the porch, gurgling at the sky. Ruth Hawkins had just left after her weekly visit. Thomas Wright had stopped by that morning with seeds for the garden. Moses had promised to come for supper on Sunday. This was her life now. Full of people, full of love, full of all the things she'd thought she'd lost when her father died. Sam caught her watching, smiled, walked over to wrap his arms around her. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking about that night, the storm, the knocking." "Still?" "Always." She leaned into him. 3 knocks. That's all it took to change everything. You could have kept the door closed. "I know." "Why didn't you?" Ellie watched Ben scoop Maggie from her cradle, holding her with the careful tenderness of a born protector. Her son, her daughter, her family. "Because my father taught me that hospitality ain't optional in a storm," she said. "But I think he was wrong about one thing." "What's that?" "It wasn't hospitality that opened that door." She turned in Sam's arms, looked up at him. "It was hope. Hope that something good might be waiting on the other side." "And was it?" "You tell me." Sam kissed her, slow and sweet and full of promise. "Yeah," he said against her lips. "It was everything." The wind carried the scent of wild roses and new beginnings. Ben's laughter echoed off the mountains. Maggie cooed in her brother's arms, and Ellie Mercer, who had once been a poor widow with nothing but stubbornness and a falling-down cabin, stood in her doorway and smiled. She had opened her door to strangers in a storm, and they had given her the world.